Hello friends, and welcome to this crochet tutorial. Well, I will show you how to make the Bee Drawstring Bag. Very simple, very fun, and definitely very cute. I know if you made one, you'd have to make many because of how cute it is. It's very functional. We use 2 strands of worsted weight yarn and a secret up here. You want to know what the secret is? Come join me and I'll show you how to make this a bee drawstring bag. So let's get started. The materials and the tools that we're going to use, here I have black yarn from Loops and Threads. I have yellow yarn from Red Heart. I have pink yarn. This one's from Lion's Brand or Premier Yarns. And I have some white, which is also from Red Heart. I have a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, a tapestry needle, and a pair of scissors. We will also use 2 safety eyes. These are a size 12 and 1 stitch marker. Now in the making of this bag, I use 2 strands of the yarn. In the yellow I'm going to use 2, and in the black we'll use 2 also. When we change to 1 strand, I will identify that for you. So let's go ahead and take off the band. And as you use this, you can pull both and you'll see how it comes easily off the skein. So let's go ahead and find both of our ends, and we'll start with a magic circle. So we're going to leave about a 6 to 8 inch tail. We will use that for weaving in so our magic circle does not come undone later on. Okay, so for that first chain that we did place on our ring, let's see if we can snug that up just a little bit and make that first chain just a little bit longer. We're going to place 6 half double crochets into our ring. There's 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so before you pull it totally tight, go ahead and close it up some. Don't do like I just did and lose grip on it. Close it up some so that you can still get into this first stitch right here. If you close it too tight, it'll make it so that it pulls onto that chain and makes it difficult for you to get your hook into it. So place 2 half double crochets into that chain. Oops. Make sure you don't snag your stitches either, like I'm trying to do. Okay, notice how it's kind of wonky. So let's enlarge our loop, take your hook out, and then go ahead and pull it tight. So we're going to take that and tighten that circle up. Okay, so we have it nice and tight. We'll weave this in later after we get some more stitches on. Now with our stitch marker, let's go back to the first of the 2 that we made. So here's our first one. let's go ahead and place it on the right side. I'm right-handed, so it'll be on the right side of that stitch. In each of the stitches for the rest of this row, we have 5 left, place 2 half double crochets in each stitch. We will have a total of 12 stitches on this row. It may seem a little stiff to you as you do this. The reason being is that we want it to be stiff so that it'll maintain its shape. When using one strand of yarn, it tends to be a little flimsy. And when making bags, purses, totes, you want there to be some consistency in this thickness. Okay. So we've completed this particular row. So let's take out our stitch marker, and in our next stitch, 1 half double crochet. Replace your stitch marker. In the next stitch, 2 half double crochet. This will be our repeat for this row. 1 single half double crochet, and in the next stitch 2 half double crochet. So here's 1 half double crochet and then 2. Continue that around until you get to the stitch marker. The stitch, the last one before the stitch marker, you should have 2 half double crochets. I'll meet you there. So before we move on, let's enlarge the loop on our hook, and let's finish off our tail for our magic circle. Okay, you'll see that the ending comes out here, so we want to continue and go around one more time. Try to stay within the center of the stitches that are already on the magic circle. Okay, and give that a good tug too, and that'll help hold that nice and tight. So what I like to do is I like to go up to the next row and bring it through, work it so that it's fitting nicely in there without any stress. Let's go ahead and cut it. Now we can move on to what is next. So let's remove our stitch marker, and in that next stitch, 1 half double crochet, replace your stitch marker into that stitch. The second one will be 1 half double crochet. So here we're doing 2 single half double crochets. The next stitch will have 2 half double crochets. Here's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Okay, so you notice that the first row we had just 1, now we're having 2. So single, single, 2. So our next stitch will be a single in the next stitch, and 2 in that third stitch. Remember, these are still all half double crochets. Okay, so you have 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, and then 2 in the same stitch. That's 2 is the increase. So continue around till you get to this stitch right here where you should have 2 to finish this row, and then I'll meet you there. Our next row will consist of 3 single half double crochets over the next 3 stitches, and then in the 4th stitch we'll have the 2. So first half double crochet, place your stitch marker, show the beginning of this round. Our second half double crochet and our third half double crochet, and then 2 in the next stitch. This is our increase. All right, so continue this all the way around. Remember to end with the 2 in that last stitch before the stitch marker. Now we're going to continue with the increases of these rows. The next one you know will be 4, then 5, 6, and 7. When you get to 7 single half double crochets and then 2, we will change colors and do something different. It should be about this big, about 6 inches, 7 inches across, and this will be the base of our little bag. So go ahead and do that. Remember to take your stitch marker and change it at the first stitch of the beginning of every increase in the rows that we're going to do. So please pause your video, and I'll see you after you've completed the 7 single half double crochets in the 7 stitches and the 2, the increase. I'll meet you then. Turned out kind of big, didn't it? So now we're going to start changing colors. So for our next stitch and our next round, we will not do any increases. We're just going to do straight crochet, but we're still going to place in our stitch marker. So in our first stitch, yarn over and pick up a loop, and then go through only the first loop on the hook. Okay, so we did like a little chain stitch, only that first loop on the hook. Drop your yellow behind you, and then bring up your black yarn. Leave a tail, and then pull the rest through all the loops on your hook. We're going to stitch over this, and we're going to leave the yellow behind. Do not cut it. Usually the first stitch is what helps set for the new color. So we're just going to continue on with a half double crochet. So yarn over, we'll pick up the next stitch, and we're going to go over that tail as well to hold it in place. Okay, so this will give us a chance to snug up everything so it'll maintain the proper tension. Okay, so continue around. 1 half double crochet per stitch. Till you get to here. Okay, so we're going to go all the way around until you get to here. I'll meet you there. Please pause your video. I went ahead and placed my stitch marker into my first stitch also. So we're going to go one more row around in the black. So continue on, and I'll meet you at the end of the second row of black. Here's number 1, so we're going to do number 2. So here's our stitch. Remember, this was the last one, so we're kind of up here. The next stitch we're going to do is we're going to change our color to yellow. So yarn over, insert the hook into the next stitch, and pull up your loop. Go through the first loop on the hook only. Drop your black and pick up your yellow. Okay, remember we didn't cut it, so we're just bringing it up. And continue with the rest of the stitches on your hook. Pull your black if you need to. And then with the yellow, continue on with 2 rows of yellow. Two rows of yellow, and I'll meet you back here and we'll change our color to black again. Alright, so we're going to continue on. We're going to change our color to black. Remember to go through that first loop on the hook, pick up the black and pull it through those 3 and adjust your stitching. So let's continue on with 2 rows of black, and I will meet you there. So after the 2 black rows, let's go ahead and change to yellow, and we'll do 2 yellow rows. So please pause your video and I'll meet you at the end of 2 yellow rows. Alright, so as we get closer to the end, I would like for you to come down to where we did our increases. That was the 2 in the 1 stitch right here. So let's go up, 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 and I left 1 open so that we can change colors there. Even though our stitch marker is over here, we still want to come over here. So let's go ahead and do our color change here. Let's bring up our black. Okay, and tighten up the yellow a little bit. And this is where we're going to start our decrease row. Now I know this is in black and it's going to be a little hard to see, but I think we can do this. So over these next 2 stitches, we're going to combine them into 1 stitch. So yarn over on your hook. Now if you notice that the black did come across at an angle, so if you want to, you can pick that up in the process as well. So pick up a loop, yarn over again, and into that second stitch, pick up a loop. And you'll notice that of the double yarn, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, is the light good enough for that? Okay, so now we're going to yarn over, aim your hook straight down, pull up just a little bit, and go through all of those stitches, and then snug it up so that we have a nice tension here. That is our first decrease. Okay, and over the next 7 stitches, 1 half double crochet per stitch. This will be our repeat for this row. Okay, now before I get ahead of myself, let's go ahead and place our stitch marker into this first, right here, this first stitch up here. Okay, So we want 7 single half double crochets. So here's our 2. That's our decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay? And if you look down, here's our doubles again, and we'll be right up in that same spot. So here we're going to do another decrease. So yarn over into that first stitch, bring up a loop, yarn over into the second stitch, bring up a loop, yarn over, aim the hook down, up on the tension a little bit. There you go, pull it all the way through. Okay, and then continue on and 7 single half double crochets. Go ahead and do that for this row. When you get to your stitch marker, this one right here should have the 7th single half double crochet right here. I'll meet you there. Please pause your video. For our next row, let's take off our stitch marker. We're going to start off with a decrease. So over the next 2 stitches, we'll do our decrease. Okay, replace that stitch marker at that top of the stitch. And then we'll do 6 single half double crochets over the 6 stitches. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and then here's our double from our first row. So let's do our decrease. Okay, and then you'll do 6 again. So continue with that all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of the row where we're also going to change our color before the last stitch. So please stop at the 6th half double crochet just before our stitch marker. Well, I had 6 on the brain, didn't I? Actually, stop at the 5th. Okay, so our 6th one is where we're going to change our color. So yarn over, bring up a loop, and through that first loop on the hook. And we're going to cut our yarn, so leave a little tail. And then bring up the yellow and bring it on through. Okay? And then we'll snug up those stitches. Also, since we brought up the yellow, we need to cut one of the strands. Just one. Okay? So we can drop one. Alright. So, on this row, we're going to do the decrease and then 5 half double crochets, single ones over the 5 stitches. Now don't jump ahead of me if you think the next row is going to be a decrease row. It's not. So stay with me. Okay, so we're going to place all of these tails under that next stitch. So yarn over, bring up a loop, yarn over, and bring up another loop. Okay, and this is our decrease. Now we're going to do 5 half double crochets. 1, 2. Notice how I'm going over my tails too. 3, 4. Somehow I got it wrapped around my leg and I don't know how I did that. Okay, and 5. And then once we do this next decrease, we can cut whatever excess is on our tail. So let's do our decrease. And we will place our stitch marker back in and continue on with the decrease and the 5 single crochet for this row. Keep going around and I'll meet you at the end of the row. So let's remove our stitch marker and place 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. Place the stitch marker around the base of the half double crochet and lock it in. And we're going to continue around in a spiral for 6 rows. 1 half double crochet per stitch for 6 rows. This will be the top part of our bag, and it will make it easier to have 1 strand of yarn for closing. So go ahead and do that. This will take a few minutes, and I will meet you at the end of 6 rows. So please pause your video. At the end of the row, we've completed 6 rows. We're going to place a single crochet in the next stitch and then a slip stitch in the next one. Be the last one for this. Go ahead and cut with a short tail so we can weave that in. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and create the circle that'll help hide a lot of this right here. This will be the front face for our bag. With a magic circle, let's place 8 half double crochets into this magic circle. Continue until you have 8. Pinch the last few stitches and pull the ring closed. Into the first stitch, place 2 half double crochets. Place your stitch marker. Well, mine seemed to have run and disappeared. Place your stitch marker into your first stitch. Then place 2 half double crochets in each stitch around. You will have a total of 16 half double crochets for this row. Let's be sure to pull our magic circle's tail tight to close that ring in the center. Do not cut it. We're going to weave it in just a little bit. So let's remove our stitch marker. In our first stitch, 1 half double crochet. This is going to be similar to what we've done on the bottom of the bag. So 1 and then 2 in the next. Continue that sequence around of 1 half double crochet and 2 in the next. Please pause your video. Continue around with 2 single half double crochets and 1 double. Remember to place your stitch marker at the first stitch on the beginning of this row. I stopped after we did 4 single half double crochets and 1 double. I edited my video. That's the reason why it doesn't look like it did. So I know after the last one we did 2, so we did row 3, 4, and we stopped. After the 2 doubles, I'm going to show you how to finish this row. We're going to go single crochet and then slip stitch. And that'll still make it look like it's a circle here. Leave a long enough tail. We will need this to sew on to our bag. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm not going to weave this in, I'm going to coil it up, and it's going to be attached to the back here. But before we attach this piece, we're going to add some eyes, the little mouth, and we're going to add some heart shape or circles here for the cheeks. So let's go ahead and move on to that. To make a cheek, we're going to do it in a circle. I'm going to start off with a magic circle. Chain 1. And onto the magic circle, we're going to do 10 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3. Continue on until you have 10 double crochets. Pinch the last few stitches, grab your tail, pull closed, and slip stitch into the first stitch. Here's our chain. We want to skip that. We want to slip stitch into this one right here. Leave a long enough tail for sewing on to our face here. We will take the magic circle and coil it up. As we stitch around, it'll be in the bottom already. Alright, so let's get an idea of how we want to place our face on here. So here I have my 2 cheeks. And here's the 2 eyes. And of course we'll do a little mouth right here along this row. How does that look to you? I think it looks kind of cute. Let's go ahead and place the eyes in. See if we all agree on this. How's that? Think that'll be good? Whoops. Okay, so let's get out our tapestry needle. We'll start stitching down this right here. So what I'm going to do, looks like I got more than I needed. Okay, I'm going to take this and coil it up. Place it right behind. And I like taking these and aiming them down. So let's place that right there. We'll go down, come up, go straight down, across on the bottom, come up into the next stitch. Straight down, cross on the bottom, pick up that next stitch. And we're going to keep going all the way around, holding it in place as best we can. Sometimes it slips, but it's okay. Now you notice that I haven't put the backing on my safety eyes yet. And we want to make sure that this is good before we lock those in place, because if you only have one set of eyes and it's not in the right place, you really can't take those backings off. They're not that easy. Okay, and I'm in my last stitch here. I'm going to go straight down. I'm going to come over here and kind of just lock it in. How's that look? Coming along, isn't it? Okay, so let's go ahead and do our placement for our other cheek. And go ahead and sew it on the same way I just showed you. And I guess while we're at it, we can go ahead and set our safety eyes. And then I'll meet you after this to sew on our mouth. You can do it either in red or you could do it in black, whatever you choose. Now to set the safety eyes, I find it to be pretty simple. Go ahead, you've already got it poked through. Make it so that the cup part goes down. Take your thumb and put it on both ends and your fingers across the top like this and push. And you see how they go through. You want it to lock on to that first locking clip if possible, so that way it won't come off. And here we have our eyes that are locked in place. So I'm going to go ahead and sew on my other cheek, and then I'll meet up with you so we can add on our little mouth. So I brought out some black. Now tell me, what do you think about that? Well, not all of this, but so, and then here, let's have a look at the red. Which one do you like best? And if you want, you can use both of them. But I think for this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and use the black. So let me hook up some yarn onto my needle, and we'll go ahead and sew our smile on. I chose to double my yarn. So on the back side, let's pick up a few of the stitches. Don't go all the way through. And let's place a little overhand knot to hold all our stitches in place so we don't lose them. Okay, so I'm going to follow this line right here. Now I know this is on a spiral, so it's not going to be exactly even between the two, but be close enough. I'm going to do what is known as the outline stitch. So I'm going to go over one and back one. Go down to the next stitch, over one and back one. And we'll continue till we have a nice little smile. Oops, I keep hitting my camera. Sorry about the jiggling. Okay, I think I'll pull that one underneath, give it more of a balance for the last part. So how does that look? Does that look like a happy little face? Okay. I'm going to come across and pick up a few stitches. And what's left of the tail, I'm going to go use that and tie a square knot. Cute! So let's find a placement for it to go onto our bag. Looks like I got some more yarn saying, use me, I want to be in your project too. Alright, so we're going to find our placement here. Hang on just a second. I wanted to bring the camera back so that we can see better. We're going to be covering up all of these staggered lines. That's the only bad thing about when you go in a spiral. You can't really join the lines. If I was to do, you know, a slip stitch, chain, then everything would be straight and even. But when you have it this way, it doesn't really come out that way. So what we're going to do is go down to the bottom, the first row of black, and make it kind of straight. Okay, and also, let's see, here's our decrease, so that's kind of like our center line. And then here's our increases right here. So we're going to line up the center to center, and that way we can stitch all the way around. Now this is not the traditional way of doing a bee. I understand that. Please don't make any bad comments. This is a, you know, taken off of a bee idea. The crochet beads that are popular right now go this way with the stripes and everything. But because this is a little drawstring bag, we wanted to make sure that it had the illusion of looking like a little bee. So let's go ahead and sew this all the way around. If you need to use straight pins to hold it down, I encourage you to do that. But let's sew this down and then we'll move on to our next step. I have to say this. Our little bee bag is becoming beautiful. What do you think? Okay, let's move on to the weaving in of our end here, and we'll do the drawstring closure. So let's bring the tail through these top rows of the back part of these stitches here. Stretch it back. Now on this stitch right here, you'll notice that there's two parts of it. Go over the first one, under the second, and go under the rest. If you go under the first one, that the same hole you just came out, you'll lose your weave in end here. Okay, make it snug enough, stretch it back, Go ahead and clip it and it'll stay right there. So let's go ahead and place a slip knot on our hook. Leave a long enough tail. And I've made a few of these bags already, and I find that if you chain 60, this is long enough for our drawstring. So let's chain 60 and place a slip knot with a 6-inch tail on the end, and then I'll show you how to weave it in. Please pause your video. So the first thing we're going to do is find the center of this bag, which is right here, and then we're going to center those 3 stitches. Come over to the left side of those 3 stitches and pull your drawstring through halfway. Come over 3 stitches and pull that yarn through. Go over 3 stitches, making sure you don't snag your stitching, and pull it through. Okay, go over 3, let's pull it to the inside. 1, 2, 3, let's pull it to the outside. Okay, let's go ahead and do the same thing to the other side, and I'll show you what to do after that. So here I've got them all through, so let's line them up and close the bag if we need to. Make the 2 knots even. Let's place an overhand knot on that. Now I'm going to keep holding on to those and work that knot down. Okay, and then I'm going to leave a little tail on them both and cut them off. So here we have our drawstring portion. Okay, I think he needs some wings. Let's double up our yarn so that he'll have nice stiff wings, and let's get started. I'm getting excited, are you? Okay, let's place a slip knot on our hook. We're going to start off with a chain of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's slip stitch into our first chain, and then chain 1. Let me bring my camera up closer. I did not realize it was so far back. Hang on a second. I have a GoPro. I love my GoPro. It's small and I can see around it as I'm crocheting. But the only bad thing is it doesn't focus as when I need it. Alright, so we're going to be stitching over our tail. And we're going to start off with 1 single crochet. Let's move on up to half double crochet, half double crochet, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to slide it all down. Okay. 3 treble crochet. So we're going to wrap it twice around our hook. 1, 2, 3. And that's why they call it a treble crochet. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. Okay, now before we do any more sliding, let's make sure that everybody's in the right place. The third one should be the center top. Right here in the center. Okay, I'm going to cut my tail. Don't need any more to save that. Now coming down on the other side, 3 double crochet. Two half double crochet. One single crochet. And we're going to chain 1 and slip stitch into that single crochet on the other side. Okay, we're not done with his wing yet. Okay, let's chain 1, single crochet into the first single crochet, half double crochet, half double crochet, double crochet. In the next stitch, 2 double crochet. In the next one, 2 double crochet. Okay, you can already see it's starting to curve in. So into the next one, 2 trebles. Into the next one, 3 trebles. Okay, and into the next one, 2 trebles. Two double crochet. Two double crochet into the next. Okay, then double crochet, half double crochet, whoops, I need to pull all the way through, half double crochet in the next stitch, and single crochet into that last stitch there. Okay, so here we have our little cuppy wings. I think they're cute. Okay, and then in that chain 1 space, let's slip stitch. Now leave enough yarn for a tail so we can sew it down. And let's make a second one. I'll post the time in the video so you'll know how far back to go to make your second wing. Now is the time for wing placement. Looking cute. Alrighty, so I can already tell where I'm going to be placing mine. So you'll notice that as we pull the drawstring in, it causes this to drop down. So you know this is going to be sewn on kind of at an angle, which is okay. It's going to be like this, but once you tighten it up, the wings will pop right up. So we need to find the halfway point from our face, not from the body of the bag like we normally would, because we covered up, so we're covering up a seam right here. So we want to take our bag and fold it in half. Go ahead and mark it. You could use like a needle, so that way you know where your halfway marks are. Okay, and then open it up and place your wing just below that first row. So we're going to start stitching, but when we stitch, I'm showing you from the back side, you want to stitch along the center about halfway on both sides and stop. Okay, so you're going to be going through the front and back on this. So let's thread our needle. I think I might have put too much yarn for this, but it's okay. So I'm going to line it up just below that first row. I'm going to come down. Hate when that happens. Okay, lining it up straight. Let's go back one more time. And now we're coming here to the center chain. Okay, so we're going to go over and follow the same as the stitching, so it looks like it blends right in. Okay, so we're going to go over it a couple of times just to hold it in place. Okay, and then we're going to go back. And since we're here, we can just go ahead and go straight across. And that will help bring that center together. Turn my bag around. And go through that same one we just did. I know this can be frustrating to have your yarn back up on itself, but it's all part of the process. Okay, and then we'll go down inside and we'll finish it off. So that's how we're going to attach our wings. Do the same for the other side, and I will meet you there. please pause your video. So I know you've already taken your bag and put it in action, right? Whoops, hit my camera again. So here we go. Bzzz, bzzz. That is too cute. All right, so we need to put on a strap, if you like, and then we'll be basically done. So let's go ahead and join 2 strands of black yarn, and we'll put on 120 chains, and I'll show you how to sew it on to our bee bag. So just behind the wing into the black, okay, we want, when we pull it up, we don't want it to interfere. Go ahead and insert your hook, pull it through. I'm going to do an overhand knot real close to the knot itself. And tie it one more time. Okay, and then take your yarn, bring it to the inside, and since it's black, you ain't going to see it very well if I even show you. Go ahead and weave it into the black, and then do the same to the other side, and then we will call this bag completed. I'm so glad that you joined me today in the making of this bee drawstring bag. Perfect way for you to carry your treasures in, store your yarn in, and maybe just for the kids. Easter is coming up. They may like to carry it then as well. So, thank you very much for joining with me, and I hope you come back for another crochet tutorial. So until then, bye-bye!